Good morning. Today is Sunday, February 2nd. I came in this morning to get a little work done, nice and quiet. And I put out something yesterday, very brief, very kind of short video, kind of out of agitation, really based on something I had seen on Facebook, about some joker, basically like a video using clickbait. This character on camera says to someone off camera, and if you saw that little short I put out yesterday, if you didn't, so there's a guy on camera, and he says to someone off camera, if you could start CrossFit all over again, what would you do differently? So being a CrossFit affiliate for basically 2 decades, I bite. I'm like, okay, what is it? Who is he talking to? Is he talking to our founder, Greg Glassman? Is he talking to another plank owner of our community? So I proceed to watch. Now he's talking to some social media influencer, who has like however many followers in the fitness space. But I'll tell you straight up, my experience has been followers in the fitness space, you have them everywhere. Right? You have them in fitness, of course. You have them in martial arts. You have them in jiu-jitsu. You have them in Thai boxing. There are people who, and this is no disrespect, you're always going to find people who, I always wanted to do that. Maybe they just watch from the bleachers, and that's fine. Or you have people that, oh yeah, I do that. I dabble in it, right? You dabble in it or you immerse yourself in it, and there's varying degrees in between there, and it's all wonderful. Excuse me. But I think what really got me with this was, and again, maybe because, like a lot of you, here I am thinking it's relevant, right? And here I am thinking it's relevant, and boom, I click on it. I mean, it didn't take more than a minute of my time, but, the irritation set in when it was like, if you could start CrossFit all over. Well, first of all, he didn't start CrossFit, right? He's basically some jagoff with a social media following, probably has clientele, maybe even in the virtual space, right? Where they don't actually go and train with him, but they train remotely with him or something like that. And what I found interesting was, and again, I mean, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm laying it out there as an affiliate owner, as someone who has trained CrossFit. And to be completely blunt, I started CrossFit at 40 years old on my first deployment to Baghdad, all right, in 2004. 2 years prior to that, I was working out of the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. So I found CrossFit at a time where I was just kind of flat with my regular training. Training, coincidentally, that this other individual that I'm referring to advocates. And what I thought was comical was, to answer the question, what would you do differently? Well, he didn't do anything in the first place. So how could he do it, if you were to start CrossFit all over again? Am I beating that into the ground? He didn't do it in the first place. So why would we care what he would do differently? But what he said was that was the bread and butter of it, all right? First of all, I'd eliminate all the Olympic lifts. Okay. CrossFitters in general do not specialize in Olympic lifting. Olympic lifting is a part of the CrossFit programming. Our coaches strive to learn the Olympic lifts so that they can teach it with absolute attention to detail to our athletes. Some of those athletes go on and compete in Olympic lifting because that's to their liking. What we use Olympic lifting for in the CrossFit space is the dynamic explosive movement, right? You don't want to do it? Nobody's holding a gun to your head, all right? I would eliminate that. Then he says I would eliminate kipping pull-ups, essentially the gymnastics component, all right? So let me share something with you, Super Chief. And I'm not going to go into the science of it and the distance times weight over time and how, that's horsepower. That's a simple mathematical calculation, which I'm not sure you could spell mathematical or calculation. So you notice how I'm leaving names out of this? so as not to offend anyone's delicate sensibilities. It's not the point. And I don't want to be childish, but what I do want is, again, just maybe I'm ranting right now, but if you could start CrossFit again, strike one, you never started it in the first place. Strike two, you're only a personal trainer who probably got his credentials online, never having to actually sweat or do anything for them. All right. Then you start talking out your ass because your mouth knows better. And the things that he would eliminate essentially turn his program into today's back and biceps, tomorrow's chest and triceps. I do a double split routine. When I want to emphasize the full tricep, I hold my grip thusly. When I want to emphasize the outer, I hold. When I want to do anything else, I hold my grip thusly. All right. Look, again, as I mention all the time, every day I strive to be a better, more mature version of myself. Most days I come up short. This is one of those days because it kind of, I think the success of CrossFit has brought with it that our community has made itself a target, all right? Made itself a target for those in the multi-billion-dollar a year fitness space, right? So you got guys like this who, if this were back in the 70s, they'd probably be advocating a class utilizing the Thigh Master. And I actually think you probably have to be my age to know what that reference is, but Google it, the Thigh Master. But the point that I'm trying to stay on track with is this, right? And I will use a martial arts paradigm maybe for a lot of you out there. I know, I know that a lot of folks have kind of dissected this over time, and because everybody's looking for what's the one thing, and they all maybe use that as like, that's the best, therefore the rest is the worst, or not the best. But, Jocko's talked about it more than once on his podcast, Rogan, anyone with any type of fighting background. And I think the reality of it is, what would you study if you could only study one thing? Well, you can't. You can't only study one thing. I mean, what is, no such situation exists. But if you ask me, I would say be a solid striker and have a solid ground game. Personally, I have a pretty significant boxing background. I started as a teenager, boxed through college, boxed into the Navy, and kickboxing, Americanized, kickboxing, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is my ground passion, all right, my ground game, if you will. And I think the reality of it is, without striking and without a ground game, every fight ends up on the ground, no matter what you think, no matter what you've heard, no matter how Chuck Norris, and I adore Chuck Norris, right? But you get taken down. Any fight, every fight, you'll end up on the ground. If you don't have a ground game, you're in a hurt locker, all right? But anyway, I guess that's what I'm getting at. So here's Super Chief. I would eliminate the Olympic lifts. I would eliminate the gymnastics movements. I'm like, but you just took everything away that creates functional fitness, all right? So play this forward. You and your little strict weighted pull-ups, that's great. We do them too. But at the same time, if I'm being chased by hostiles and I have to get up and over an 8-foot wall, I'm going to use every bit of my gymnastic capability to get up, get over, leverage up and over. Do you think for a minute, if I had to do a movement resembling a bar muscle up to get myself up to a second level to accomplish a mission, do you think I would say, oh no, that's cheating? Let me dead hang? You're an idiot. And you're an idiot who's probably never seen the need for the practical aspect, the other side of what we do and why we choose CrossFit as that modality. And, not to be like, whoa, if these guys do it, it can't be wrong. But let's just say when Naval Special Warfare turns to CrossFit style training, when the U.S. Army changes their readiness test, thank God, to CrossFit style training, nobody's looking for your dumbass to come out and train them. All right. So listen, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in mine. And if I were you, I'd hope those lines never crossed. But anyway, happy Sunday. Wanted to finish that rant a little bit And but think about it. I mean, aside from my personal negative, slant on this character, um, functional training, there's a reason for it. If you don't like it, it's not for you. Man, leave it at that. I don't need to falsify shit to get clicks on your little, what do you call it? Instaface or X or, Twitness. But is that still a thing? You know what I'm talking about. All right. Good to be back. Missed you all. And I will see you again soon. Enjoy the remainder of your weekend.